everyone, my name is Quang. My English name is Tommy. I'm 10 years old. Today I'll talk about history in lesson 19 in first grade. And first, I will review about the topography water. This is upstream, downstream. This is a river, the waterfall, source, lake, harbor, mouth, delta, channel, horizon, sea, canal, and gulf. And I will review about the world map. Yeah. North America, South America, Europe, Asia, Africa. Yeah. North America, South America, Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia, and Antarctica. And there are some lines of longitude and latitude. This is the prime meridian. This is the Arctic Circle. Tropic of Cancer, Equator, Tropic of Capricorn, and the Antarctic Circle. And this is the St. Lawrence River. This is Lake Erie. No. This is the Appalachian Mountains, the Ohio River, Mississippi River, Missouri River, Colorado River, Rio Grande, Rocky Mountains, Panama Canal, Great Basin Desert, and today I will talk about freedom is declared, and there are some words to remember. No. Thomas Jefferson Declaration of Independence, July 1st, 1776. Declaration of Independence first signed, John Hancock and James Caldwell. And today I'll talk about freedom is declared. And the Declaration of Independence is wrote by Thomas Jefferson. And he in the Declaration of Independence is stated why the war was being fought and why should America be a free country and things that would change. And churches also support the war. They used to teach the spiritual needs of those soldiers who did not know about Christ. And although Quakers, Mennonites, and Moravians did not believe in fighting. They helped in other ways, such as caring for the wounded and providing food and clothes for those who need it. And a man who is remembered by a fighting pardon is James Caldwell. Enemy soldiers had shot his wife and burned his house to the ground. A few days later, the townspeople gathered to a field near a church to defend their town. In the middle of the battle, they don't have enough paper to stuff their musket. So Caldwell ran into the church and ripped all the pages of the hymnals and give them to the townspeople, and that allowed them to keep firing their muskets and defend their town. and I will read the Declaration of Independence. We will read the important document to proclaim freedom and independence from England. 5 members of the Second Continental Congress who were chosen to work together: Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Roger Sherman, and Robert Livingston put together the ideas they thought should be included. Thomas Jefferson was the main author of the great document. The Declaration of Independence was stated that the 13 colonies were free from the independent from English rule. After the declaration was finished, the members of Congress discussed it and changed a few words. On July 4, 1776, the day we know as the Declaration Independence Day for the 4th of July. The Declaration of Independence was signed first by John Hancock, who wrote his name boldly. Most of the other delegates signed the document about a month later on August 2, 1776. Benjamin Franklin turned to the other members of the Second Continental Congress and said, "Gentlemen, we must all hang together, or sure we would all hang separately." By signing his name in support, each man was putting his life in danger. Every signer of the Declaration of Independence is willing to face death for freedom of the colonies. A number of signers went on to fight in the War of Independence. Of those who did, several were captured by the British, a symbol of freedom. Copies of the Declaration of Independence were made for each of the 13 colonies. Messengers packed the copies into their saddlebags and jumped on their horses. Over dusty roads, through streams, over mountains and hills, they quickly rode to take the news to the colonies. It took as long as 2 months for the people in distant settlements to hear about the Declaration of Independence. When the people of Philadelphia listened to the reading of the Declaration of Independence, they heard these wonderful words for the first time. "We hold this truth to self-evidence, and all men were created equal, and they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." The Declaration went on to say why the war was being fought. That is to secure this right, governments are instituted among men, delivering their just powers from the concept of government, that whenever form deriving the just power from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive to this end, it is the right of the people to after or abolish it, to the institute of new government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over the states. We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, do in the name of and by the authority of the good people of these colonies solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be free and independent states. They are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and all political connection between the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Most of the colonists were glad to hear the Declaration of Independence being read, although some still felt loyal to England, and others were undecided. However, since the decision was official, the colonists would continue fighting for their independence from England. The Liberty Bell. It was said that a special bell called the Liberty Bell was rung in Philadelphia to call the people of the town together to hear the Declaration being read. The Liberty Bell has been made years earlier in 1751 to honor William Penn's writing of the Charter of Privilege, Pennsylvania's original constitution. On the bell, a Bible verse is engraved. Proclaim liberty throughout the land and to all of the inhabitants thereof. Leviticus 25:10. It would have been fitting to ring the bell again to proclaim independence for the colonies. Churches aboard the war. Many American churches aboard the Continental Army during the war included pastors and members of the Congregational, Presbyterian, Baptist, Reformed, and Catholic churches. Many pastors served as chaplains in the army by helping to meet the spiritual needs of the soldiers. Although Quakers, Mennonites, and Moravians did not believe in fighting, they helped in other ways, such as caring for the wounded and providing food and clothing for those who needed help. One Presbyterian preacher, James Carwell, is remembered by some as the fighting person. Enemy soldiers had shot his wife and burned his home to the ground. A few days later, the people in Carwell's town gathered to defend themselves in a field next to the church building. The patriots ran out of paper to stuff the musket balls into their guns, so Carwell ran into the church and gathered all the hymnals he could carry. He ripped the pages off and gave them to the fighters. Most of the hymnals have been written by Isaac Watts. As he put the paper into the hands of the patriots, he yelled, "Put Watts into them, boys." Give them Watts. The paper allowed the men to keep firing their muskets and defending their town. Reverend Carwell also served his country as a chaplain in the 3rd New Jersey Brigade and as deputy quartermaster whose job was to find food and supplies for soldiers. Conference in check. The Olive Branch Petition declared the colonies to be free and independent from England. False. Benjamin Franklin did the actual writing of the Declaration of Independence. False. John Hancock signed the Declaration of Independence on July 4, 1776. True. In only 2 weeks, messengers on horseback took news of the Declaration of Independence to each of the colonies. False. Ministers aboard the war by serving as chaplains. True. Robert Livingston was known as the fighting person who supplied hymnal pages to the patriot soldiers. False. And that is all I want to talk in this history lesson. Thank you for your listening and watching. Goodbye.